Uh, Today I'm going to talk about the speaking test which was given by one of our student Ayush. So it's going to be same as Arman's. I'm going to play the recording and then I'm going to discuss on what can and cannot be included in order to score well in IELTS speaking test. Okay. So let us start. Ayush, can you hear me? Ayush, can you hear me? Click on can see you now. Excellent. Okay, let's start our questions. We're gonna finish this. Okay. All right. Okay. Just a moment. Open up the test thing. All right. Um, what is your full name?
My full name is Ayush Badochia.
Okay. And where are you from?
I hail from the exquisite city named Rajkot, which is located in Gujarat.
Um, this is a very common question which the examiner can ask you, which is where you are from. This question is asked to make you feel comfortable with the speaking test. So just try to include only basic information. I have seen that a lot of students they try too hard uh, to add more information to this question. However, there's no more information which needs to be added to this question, right? So it's all right, like what Ayush responded with. It's an appropriate length duration of response for this particular type of question. Do you work or are you a student?
As I am pursuing diploma and in computer engineering from well-known college, Marwadi University.
So here, the mistake that Ayush made was he did not summarize his response. So either you can answer the question directly before you begin the reasoning, before you begin to provide the reasoning for that. So it can be something like, well, I'm a student currently pursuing computer engineering diploma from Marwadi University, which is one of the well-known universities in my region. Or you can first provide reasoning. I'm currently pursuing a diploma in computer engineering from Marwadi University, which is one of the well-known universities in my region. So to answer your question, yes, I'm a student. So either way, the response is fine. But the thing that Ayush missed over here was to summarize the question. Sorry, the answer. So whenever the examiner asks you any question which has a certain set, like let's say if you are asked something like, um, "What do you think about food?" or sorry, "Do you like junk food?" So somewhere in your response, there needs to be a phrase which highlights the fact that whether you like it or not. Okay, so that thing was missing from Ayush's response over here. Okay. Okay. Do you use technology at your college?
Yes, obviously, in this techno-saving world, technology is so much developed, and technology is make easier our work to do, and it is obviously get everyone use technology at college, and I also use like computers.
Okay. Now here, Ayush would lose score on fluency and coherence heavily because the question was very simple. Do you use technology at college? Now, obviously, one of the best way to respond is yes. I cannot imagine studying at my college without the use of technology. Now, when the word technology is coined around, a lot of students they only fixate on hardware, right? But if you think about it, everything, including let's say internet, presentations, softwares like Microsoft Word, all these are part of technology. So it is impossible, especially for someone who is studying computer engineering, to imagine their college without technology. Okay, so here, as you can see from the response, Ayush started speaking about technology, but that was not the question. The question was technology in college. So that is the scope of the response. એની બારે નહીં જવાનું. એ સ્કોપની બારે નહીં જવાનું. Okay. So if you just focus on that, whenever you hear a question, ફટાફટ છે ને તમારે સ્કોપ ડિસાઇડ કરી લેવાનો. ભાઈ આ ક્વેશ્ચનની અંદર હું કઈ કઈ વસ્તુ સુધી ઇન્ક્લુડ કરી શકું, and that will allow you to score well in fluency and coherence. Okay. What, sorry, what technology do you use at your college?
At my college, there are several type of technologies like computers, and moreover, there are some type of simulation machines by which we can develop artificial intelligence robots, and some of the technologies are very useful for making some type of apps and robots.
Okay. So here again, the same issue was faced by Ayush. And I have mentioned this during my analysis of Arman's assessment as well, which is that whenever you are asked to list things, okay, because the question was, sorry, just excuse me, sorry, the question was very simple. It asked what type of technologies. So that means that you need to say, well, firstly, secondly, thirdly, or well, there are quite a few technologies which are used in my college. Few of the ones which I can remember are number one, number two, number three, things like that. So you need to have that. Another thing is, if you listen carefully, the way Ayush pronounce machine, right? So the like certain words you can hear from Ayush's speech which has heavy mother tongue influence, so that can lead to lower score in pronunciation. Okay, so getting back to the main point, why he would lose on coherence and fluency is because as I said, there are a lot of technologies which are used in college, and he was not able to list all of them. He did list few. Okay, so for example, he said technologies used to create apps. Okay, so what is used to create apps? Obviously, softwares are used to create apps. Okay, now if you are not a computer fanatic, you might not know which softwares are used, which is fine, but at least you should have been able to use the word softwares, right? Because software is a technology. Now that will lead to reduction in the score in lexical resources. Okay, because the student was not able to come up with appropriate word. Let's talk about nature. Do you like watching the sky?
Yes, it is. I like watching sky because by looking at sky, I can feel relaxed as it is nature, and plus I like to see the sky of blue color and a combination of orange while sun is setting.
Okay, so did he speak within the scope of the question? Yes. However, if you compare Ayush's response to that of Arman, you will see some difference. Arman was more expressive. Ayush, it seems he is more disciplined. As you can see, there are no um, gestures which he is using with his hands or with his face. and that plays an important part in overall communication. So when you are more visual, as well as like while you are speaking, it has a positive effect on the examiner, right? And speaking is a subjective thing. So if you speak like well, I shouldn't say this, but if you speak in a monotonous robotic voice, there is a chance you might get a little bit less score. So try to be expressive with your hands and with your face, number one. Number two, always paraphrase the question. Never use the same phrases which were used in the question. So, do you like the sky? You should never say, yes, I like the sky, because that will reduce your score, as paraphrasing is absolutely essential to score well in speaking. Okay, so just be careful that that you paraphrase, because when you paraphrase you score in lexical resource uh, criteria. Okay, so if you paraphrase all questions, then there is a chance you will get minimum 6 in lexical resource. Okay, in the paraphrasing part. So in lexical resource there are two stems. One is the words which you use, another thing is the paraphrasing. So you need to score well in both of them. But if you paraphrase all the questions, you might miss one or two, that's fine. If you paraphrase all, you get to 6 minimum. Okay, and you paraphrase effectively, then you reach 7. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Do you like sky? Yes, I do love it. Again, it depends on the weather. Obviously, I don't like sky in the summer because it's scorching hot, and frankly speaking, in my country, the temperature reaches 48 degrees. So but I do love the sky in winter, when the weather is much more pleasant. There are vivid colors in the sky, especially during sunset and sunrise. And if I do get time, I do spend a few minutes every day, in the morning as well as in the evening, mesmerizing by its beauty. Okay, so this is something like the if you just go back and listen to what I said. Now I'm not saying that this is a 9 band response. All I'm saying is that it can get you minimum 7 or 8. Okay, because as you can see, I used couple of vocabulary words which were specific to the question: sunrise, sunset, mesmerizing, things like that. You need to use those words if you want, especially general students who want to get 7, they need to try to use such vocabulary. Okay. Can you see stars and moon from where you live?
Uh, in earlier days, we can see stars and moons more than nowadays. As I can see somewhat of stars, and the I can also see the clear moon. But the amount of stars is now decreased due to the pollution in my city.
Okay, so the response was within the scope. However, when question is asked about stars and suns and moon, you can always use celestial objects or celestial bodies as a synonym for stars and moons, right? Because they are in space. So yes, the response was more or less fine, better than the previous one. So we're gonna move on, but try to use synonyms when you can. It will definitely improve your score, because paraphrasing is one of the more easily assessed criteria by the examiner. Did you learn about stars and planets at your school?
Yes, I have learned so many things related to stars and planets. Some of the stars are bigger than the moon. we see stars smaller is because they are far from the Earth, and there are plenty of planets in our solar systems, which are they are also located from the several distance of the Earth.
Okay. Now here again the problem is with the way information is presented. Number one, they were asking about did you learn it in school. So the best thing to do is to talk about which grade you learned about it. Second thing is that student compared stars with moon. However, stars should be compared with sun because moon is a satellite. Using words like satellite, planets, exoplanets, constellations, galaxy, all these words can get you a better score when answering this type of question. Okay. So obviously student messed up a little bit, but he was within the scope of the answer. Now let's assume that you don't know such words. So you can say, well, I, as far as I can remember, I studied about planets and stars in my fifth grade, as I had to do a project about it, and that got me fascinated thinking about it, as I realized how small we are in the grand scheme of the universe. So now, if you listen to this response again, you will see that I have not used any vocabulary specific to stars or planets. Okay, so for example, I use the word fascinated. Now, this type of vocabulary which allows you to express yourself, which are adjectives or adverbs or verbs, that can be used in any context. So you should try to learn at least 15 to 20 such words which allows you to express your emotions, because most of the questions in most of the questions in speaking you would or should be able to express emotions, and that is where those words can help you really. Okay, so for example, one of the word is fascinated. So if the examiner asks you something like, do you like books? Well, I've always been fascinated by books. Simple, right? So આ એક પોઝિટિવ વર્ડ થઈ ગયો. પછી એવી રીતના તમારે ન્યુટ્રલ વર્ડ શીખવાના અને નેગેટિવ વર્ડ શીખવાના. ઓકે, કે બુક્સ, હવે તમને પૂછ્યું ડુ યુ લાઈક, ડુ યુ હેટ બુક્સ, રાઈટ? સો હેટની જગ્યાએ કયો વર્ડ? આઈ ડિટેસ્ટ, રાઈટ? આઈ ડિટેસ્ટ બુક્સ. સો લાઈક now હવે તમને એક વર્ડ એડ થઈ ગયો which is detest, right? So if you have this kind of vocabulary, doesn't matter what the subject is, મતલબ ક્વેશ્ચન કયા ટાઈપના પૂછાય એની સાથે કંઈ લેવા દેવા જ ના હોય, કારણ કે તમારી આઈ વુડ સે નોન ટોપિક વોકેબ્લરી જેટલી એડવાન્સ હોય કે તમે 15-20 વર્ડ એવી રીતના વાપરી શકતા હોય કે એક્ઝામિનર્સ are like would not mind even if you are not able to come up with subject specific vocabulary. Do you like to travel?
Yes, as I am a curious person to know about new things and the culture of the places of new and the inhabitants, people living at the places and lifestyles. So I like to travel very much.
So so was it within the scope? Yes. However, the student would lose in fluency and coherence, as well as lexical resource and grammatical range and accuracy, because the sentence structure was confusing. The information which was passed in blocks. So when information is passed in blocks, what happens is that the listener is not able to understand 100%. Okay, that is when you know that you are going to lose in fluency and coherence. So the simple question was simple. Do you like traveling? Yes, I do. I've been. So here you can include, like, always think about responding to a question in a chronological order, right? So you can talk about the first trip that you took, which you remember. You can talk about the person that motivated you to, or that got you involved in traveling. You can talk about the school trip that you took. You can talk about your favorite place. You can talk about, like, so these are the things which you can include, like, think of like an autobiography, right? So if you're reading an autobiography, like, you see one thing at a time, like ek pachi ek vastu aave. Sorry. Okay. How do you travel usually? What is the mode of transportation that you prefer?
I like to drive a car very much, and I'm fond of a different type of cars. So I usually go travel by car.
Okay. So I usually go travel by car. So obviously there is a grammatical mistake there. Um, my preferred mode of transportation is car, and I have my own car. So I use it, or like, so here, like, to be very honest, if this question would have been asked to me, I would say something like, you need to make things interesting, doesn't matter how dull they are. All right, it's like a trailer, like, you watch a trailer of a film, and you see that how interesting a trailer is, but the film might be dull, but it doesn't matter, like, because the trailer is interesting, and this is what you need to do in your speaking. Okay. So, like, what mode of transportation do you use? Well, it depends where I'm going. For like, for long distances, I do prefer a car because it's more safe, more convenient, and more comfortable. However, for short distances, if I'm, let's say, going to movies with my friends, I would rather go on a motorcycle because, like, the traffic in my city is a killer, and I don't want to get stuck in traffic every now and then, especially during peak hours. So it entirely depends, and plus, if I when I'm exercising in the morning, I use my bicycle. So to be very honest, I use multiple modes of transportation. That is the response that can get you 7 or above. Okay, excellent. Moving on. Okay. um, do you ever go on a long journey in a car?
Yes, I usually go for the long journey because by long journey I can see more of the nature things, and in car I feel comfortable from other mode of transportation, as because we can take as many as break we want.
Okay. So if you listen to this response again, like, he said, I feel comfortable from other modes of transportation. So it's a comparison. So I'll try to use, I feel comfortable as compared to other modes of transportation. Okay. So there is a grammatical mistake there. These are subtle mistakes which examiners would pick up, and they would grade you on that, right? So just be careful how you respond to individual questions. Do you prefer sitting in the front seat or the back seat?
As I stated before that I like to drive, so usually I drive the car when we go outside for the long trip.
Okay, so again, like, I already mentioned before also that, you need to answer the question, right? So do you prefer front or the back seat while driving? You know, did the student answer the question directly? No. Yeah. So just try to make sure that you answer the question directly. Well, and like, to be very honest, what I have seen to be more effective is that, if you answer diplomatically, you have more content to include in your response. For instance, well, it depends. If it's a long journey, I would rather sit in the back seat, um, especially if I'm going through the city, or through like mundane roads or something like that. Because, well, I can relax and enjoy. However, if I'm going on a trip with my friends, I would rather sit in the front because that way I get to manage the songs that we are playing, and that is something that I'm always interested in. You know, so this kind of response can definitely help you get a better score. Would you like to travel to other planets in the future and why?
Yes, I would love to travel at other planets in futures because technology has developed so much and it is easier to travel in a new planet. I like to travel in the other planet like Jupiter, as because it is the biggest planet and it has many number of moons that is also known as rings, and it is of red color. So the soil of that planet is will be also very rare to see.
Okay. So obviously, student is making mistake in prepositions, right? So like I want to travel to planet in Navan, right? So students, like another thing is that moon or moons are not rings. Okay, so student I think confused Jupiter with Saturn because Saturn has the rings, not Jupiter. And Mars is considered the red planet, though Jupiter also has red soil. But when we talk about red planet, we are talking about Mars. And always try to make uh, your response interesting, as I mentioned before. So in this particular question, do you plan or do you which planet or do you would you plan would you go to other planets in the future or would you travel to other planets in the future? Yes, certainly, and I believe that with the advancement that is happening in rocket technology and as well as um space technologies, I believe that that would be a real possibility in couple of decades because sorry, I'm not feeling too well today. So anyway, because I see private enterprises such as uh, S- SpaceX or Blue Origin who are launching their vehicles, and it has become a competitive thing. And what I have observed is that whenever there is a competition, there is a huge potential for growth. Now, those of you who did not realize, I went off topic. Okay, the question is તમે travel કરશો કે નહીં? The question was not about technologies, right? So it is very easy to go off topic in IELTS speaking. How to stay on topic? That is a question a lot of students face. In order to stay on topic, think about the question which was asked, travel to other planet, and make sure you come back to it with each part of your response. Do you like to travel to other planets? Yes, I would prefer to I would love to go to other planets. Do you like to travel to other planets? Why? Well, it would be an interesting thing to tick off from my bucket list. How will you travel? Of course, the interplanetary travel would be expensive. So once I become successful in life, I would and should be able to afford it. Who would you travel with? I believe I'll take my future wife with me, or I might take my friends for a more fun related thing. Anyway, so like you can constantly ask yourself this W's and H while you are responding to make sure you stay on topic, right? So for example, do you like watching movies, or what kind of movies do you like? Well, I like action movies. Why? You need to think in your mind, right? Why? Because it does not require constant attention to details, and also it does not require you to analyze what is going on in the movie or remember things like it does in a suspense, and it doesn't scare you like a thriller or a horror movie. Who do you watch it with? I usually go to watch movies with my friends. Every once in a while, I do go with my family members as well. Where do you go? There are a couple of cinemas next to my house. So I used to go to cinemas before, but now after pandemic, I have got subscription of couple of OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime. So most of the time we watch movies at my home because we have a home theater system. So now you just realize that, like, you added a lot of information to this response, and by just asking yourself why, with whom, um, where, how, things like that. If you just keep on asking yourself these questions, like, make sure these are relevant questions, right? Okay, moving on. Thank you. Now we're gonna move to the next section, which is the cue card. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see the cue card. You will have 1 minute to answer, prepare your response, and then you'll have to speak on it for 2 minutes. Try to include all the points. I will let you know when your time is up. You can make notes if you like. Screen. I hope you can see the screen now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, you have 1 minute, and your 1 minute starts now. It's a very simple question. Describe an activity near the sea that you would like to try. It says an activity, so you don't have to list the activities, right? So let's say you want to say water sports, right? Like jet ski. I would like to ride a jet ski. So what it is, like, jet ski, what do you need to do? Or you can talk about snorkeling over here if you are familiar with snorkeling, because that will give you more content as compared to jet ski. I always refer ilts-blog.com for updated cue cards, because they have submissions across the world, so it gives you a broad variety of cue cards to learn from. Okay. Okay. You can start your response.
There are many activities near the sea that I can do, like there are paragliding, scuba diving, speedboat, boating, banana ride, and many more. But here I would like to talk about the activity that I want to try near future is scuba diving. In scuba diving, it is the activity in which one have to go under the sea, and we can find many new species of plants, fish, and some of the big fishes like whale. And if we have to do the practice for scuba diving in swimming for 30 to 45 minutes, in which they show us how to do the scuba diving, and there are some of the signs like if we are good in underwater, then we have to do thumb up, and if we are not feeling well, we have to do thumb down. If we found some of the anxiety in underwater and we cannot take oxygen by cylinder, then we have to do some of the signs that they will taught us. And moreover, they taught how to swim like a fish, as they give us the shoes like fish gills. And for this, after we are prepared to do scuba diving, they give us oxygen cylinder that we have to carry in our back. And if there is a one thing which we have to keep in mouth, and from that only we have to take oxygen. For this, it is the most interesting part of my activity that I would like to try. But In this, I would also like to have some. I would also like to found some of new species of plants. How fishes breathe underwater by help of these plants. It will be so exquisite to see new fishes like starfish, how they glow, and in underwater we can see the beneath of the sea, and we also can, if we are more comfortable to go the undersea. They can also allow us to more time for the undersea water. I feel relaxed by doing this
Thank you.
activity, and it is
Okay. So the good thing about Ayush's response was he was able to speak at length, which is very good. However, there are a lot of vocabulary issues. For instance, he said shoes which are like fish gills. So gills are fish part through which they breathe, right? जे side में होए. What he wanted to say was fins or tail, right? कि જેનાથી fish swim करती होए. So like and also a lot of things like I want to discover new species which can breathe underwater. So this kind of illogical sentence structure arises when you try to add more information but you don't have the content. Okay, so when 1 minute is given to you, make sure, as I mentioned in the previous video also, that you note down the vocabulary which you're going to use to express your points. Okay, because it is very essential that you do that. Okay, just to be on a safer side. And there is yeah, okay, all right, moving on. Good,
very
that would be enough. Thank you. Moving on to section 3, which is discussion question. How do you think you would feel about scuba diving?
I think the scuba diving activity is one of the most thrilled activity above among others, as because in scuba diving we can find many new species. For example, in the Earth surface we cannot find the that plant that can also produce oxygen under the sea.
Okay. And why do you think people go to seaside, like on the
You,
beaches?
it seems to me that many people like to go at the seaside is because from the to relax from the hectic schedule, from the routine life, and moreover they can also connect to the new people at the seaside, and they can do many sports activities which are not available in a country. It is only available at the seashores, and most of the people are fond of to play games like volleyball. In beach, volleyball is famous activity to do.
Okay. Okay, so here student was able to stay within the topic, but if you try to replay the response, you will see that he said activities which are not available in the country. Okay, what he meant was that there are things which you can't do on, sorry, in the city. For instance, using jet ski. In order to use jet ski, you need to go to the beach, or snorkeling, or scuba diving. Uh, because he only listed all these things. But the question was, why do people go there? People go there to relax. People go there for enjoyment, and people go there for adventure. So these are the three branches, and then you develop each of those branches. How do you develop it? So people go to the beach to relax. Why to the beach? Why not somewhere else? Well, beach is free, first of all, right? So if you want to go and relax in Switzerland, you need to pay a lot of money. But if you want to go and relax in and the close by beach, then you don't have to pay that much money, right? It's comparatively more affordable. Number one. Second thing is, let's say, adventure, right? So, well, there are a lot of water sports is one of the most adventurous thing, and a lot of people, like, the always a lot of people believe that there is no feeling that can match with that of surfing a tide or a wave, you know. So you got relaxing, you got entertainment, right? So you know, you for entertainment you have beach volleyball, you have a lot of beach parties that happens across the globe, which are very popular. There are a lot of restaurants that are lined up at the beach where you can have your favorite meal and while enjoying the view, of the sun setting or sun rising, things like that, right? So always categorize your response in order to score more. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you want to score more, you categorize your response. Do you think that younger people are do you think that younger people are experiencing new water sports more than older people?
Yes, Indian people are more experiencing is because they are very energetic and they are eagerly to do the activities. But to some extent, they do thrilling activities only. Like there are parasailing activities. There is that we have to be in the air for 35 to 40 minutes. It gives the thrill to the younger people.
Okay. So did the student answer the question? More or less, yes, he did answer the question. Okay. Um, so it's a very simple question, like, you know, and think, if you think about it, why do you think younger people enjoy this kind of activities more as compared to older generations, right? So obviously there is a health risk with this kind of activities, right? So you can't expect a 70-year-old person to do skydiving, right? Because it's risky, you know. They are frail, they have a comparatively weaker health in general, right? Another thing is that it's about finances, right? So younger people have more disposable income nowadays, you know, and some of these activities were not that popular in old in like couple of decades back. So the older people might not be comfortable doing those activities, so it might be a personal choice, like, you know, maybe let's say Rakesh Junjunwala, right? So he has the money, okay, but he's not going to do skydiving, right? um, so you know, this kind of comparison would get you a better score, you know. But this response was very good from Ayush. Do you think children enjoy going to the beach?
uh, it seems to me that children of course enjoy as because there is the it is the new place for the children who goes for the first time, and the children enjoys a lot in the beach as there are as children has many activities to do, like most of the children play with mud and they build a mud castle which is very famous among the children, and sometimes they also do some of that kind of boating. By this they can also get some new experience.
So obviously, like, you know, this is a very common mistake where which is made by a lot of students, where they say children is already plural. So just be careful how you phrase your responses. Another thing is that there is no mud on the beach. They have children build sand castles. So you know, these are the small mistakes that the examiner will pick up, and this will lead to a reduced score in vocabulary because you are not able to use the correct word to describe what you wanted to say. Now let's go back to the question. Do children enjoy going to the beach? So you need to first decide yes or no. So obviously most of the students will go with yes. Why do you think children enjoy? See, I also made the same mistake, right? Why do you think children enjoy going to the beach? Okay, so well, they can run around freely, and it seems that children are or they love to play with sand. Okay, they love to play with different types of shells they find on the beach. They can dig up a hole in the on the beach and like, you know, fill it up with their toys and stuff like that. And generally what happens is that children are given a free uh, run at the beach, so they're much more excited about it because they can do whatever they want on the beach. Okay. How do you think humans can save environment from global warming?
It sounds like that human is so much doing pollution to the environment, and it is the responsibility for human to save environment from global warming by reducing more vehicles. If, for example, if they want to travel to the local area of the city, they should prefer local transport rather than private transport. Is because local transport can accommodate more than 30 people in it, and if they go by car, they are alone, and the car also emits some of the harmful gases which affects the environment.
Okay, very interesting question, very straightforward. What can people do to help environment? Now, the mistakes made were obvious. For example, people's and opposite of private transportation is public transportation, which he was not able to say. So again, that will lead to a reduction in a vocabulary score. However, getting back to the question, what can people do? Well, people can do a lot of things. Mainly, it would involve lifestyle choices. For instance, when someone goes for shopping, they should carry their own carry bags so as not to use the plastic bags which are provided by the shops. Um, they can try to commute by using bicycle or by walking if it's a short distance, if they can afford, and if electric cars or electric vehicles are available in their city, they can opt for that. If not, they can try to use public transportation whenever possible. Uh, One of the see, there are a lot of small things which people can do. For instance, if they have a backyard or a front yard, they can maybe plant few trees. If they don't have it, they can always have small plants around their house, because every bit helps, you know. So I believe that there is a lot of things which people can do in order to help the environment and ensure that we have a future. So this is a good response for, and you can get good bands for it. What other things can people do to save environment? The reason why I asked him this question was because he only spoke about transportation. Now, this is a discussion type of question, so the examiner are at a liberty to uh, probe you a little bit further if you are not descriptive enough, right? So મેં જે આન્સર આપ્યો એવો જો એને પહેલેથી જ આપ્યો હોત તો કદાચ એક્ઝામિનર એને આ ક્વેશ્ચન ના પૂછત, કારણ કે એ ખાલી ટ્રાન્સપોર્ટેશનનો બોલ્યો. પણ ટ્રાન્સપોર્ટેશનની સિવાય પણ ઘણી બધી રીતના માણસો હેલ્પફુલ થઈ શકે છે.
Other things like people can reduce the usage of plastic, by which land pollution can also decrease. And if they throw the plastic is non-biodegradable. It will not be degradable to the soil, so it will also impacts on the rain directly, as the water can also get affected if the factories and some of the industries put their wastage in the water, and the rain will be also in acidic form. So people should reduce all the wastage.
Okay. This was a very good response. There were few mistakes, but this response was better than other responses. Do you think animals are affected by global warming?
Yes, many animals are affected by global warming. Like air pollution is the major thing of affecting animals, as because many animals are fond of living in forest areas, and if the forest area is cut and highways are made from that, so the pollution among the highway will increase, and the home for the animals will also decrease. By this, animal can get harmful gases, and they breathe harmful gases, so they will get affected from pollution.
Okay, so basically what I can say is that Ayush is having problem with sentence formation and coordinating thoughts in his mind before he starts his response. Okay. So, do you think animals are affected? If this question is asked, do you think animals are affected by pollution? Well, I believe if humans are affected, so are animals. At the end of the day, we all live and breathe the same air. Okay. When it comes to animals, well, most of the wildlife animals, so because they have asked about animals, they have not asked about wildlife animals, right? So animals is animals, like, even dog is an animal, cow is an animal, things like that, right? So you can just categorize it, well, yes, I believe animals are affected because at the end of the day, we all breathe the same air. If you're talking about domestic animals, you can see that due to pollution, whether it's land pollution, water pollution, or air pollution, their lifestyle has been severely affected in a negative way. And wild animals are affected more severely because they are not used to human interference in their day-to-day life. For instance, the increasing temperatures across the globe are forcing a lot of wildlife animals to move towards city to find a water source, because water sources in the jungles or in the forest are disappearing slowly, and that has led to a lot of issues. Another thing is that when we talk about animals, um, they are dependent on other things like flora and fauna. um, so when the temperature changes, when the pollution affects um, their food source, it indirectly affects their population as well. And it is said that there are a lot of animals which are now on endangered list due to pollution. This is particularly seen if you move towards animals, or if you observe animals which live in certain climate controlled areas. For instance, animals living in polar regions, right? So it is said that due to increase in the temperature, global temperatures, and the reduction in the ice on polar caps, polar bears, they might go extinct in couple of decades. So I believe that yes, pollution affects everyone. It affects humans, it affects animals, but more to animals than humans. It's a discussion question, so if you go a little bit overboard with a discussion question, it is fine, because you are as long as you are on topic, you can speak at length, but the ideal length is around 45 seconds. Yeah. Okay. Okay. According to you, what can humans do to save marine life from ecological crisis?
According to me, a human can do several things to save marine life, like the fishing amount of is increased nowadays, as many as people are eating fish. So the if fish eating should decrease, due to which the several kinds of fish can be increased in the undersea. Moreover, the boating in the sea is also increased. By boating, the fish can also get affected, as because many ships have some of the problems, like the oil get out from the ship and it is spreads on the ocean. By this, marine life can be damaged, and so the boating should also decrease.
Okay. Okay, so here again the same problem with vocabulary, like oil does not get out, oil spills, right, or leaks. But what he's referring to is the spillage, right? કે જ્યારે ઓઇલ ટેન્કર હોય એ લીક થાય અને સ્પિલ થઈ જાય ઓઇલ સીમાં, તો લાઈક ઘણા બધા મરીન લાઈફ they perish, right? So they die. But if you look at the question, what can humans do to preserve marine life? So humans, eating less fish is not an answer, because that is like that we are talking about changing human habits, which is rare, right? So the more appropriate response is like, well, there are a lot of things which humans can do to help preserve marine life. One of the thing is to ensure that those that consume fish as their staple diet should preferably choose um, fish which are sourced from sustainable fisheries, right? Another thing which humans can do is to ensure that they don't pollute the ocean or the river sources, because plastic scrap is one of the major pollutant which is found in the river, so, or the ocean, which affects marine life. So one of the things which humans can do, and it's very simple, is to reduce their day-to-day usage of plastic, uh, and that can obviously help in a longer run. And finally, if we are able to tackle the greenhouse effect, obviously marine life will also benefit from it. Okay, so it's a more or less like, very very simple response. Like, doesn't it's not, the question is not complicated at all, but if you just break it down, it makes your life a little bit easy. Okay. So I hope this was a good learning experience for those of you who watched this video. I'm gonna post. I have two more videos which I'm going to post in a day or so of other students, and then I'm going to take few more speakings for other students who are interested. So you can let your faculties or your office administrator know if you're interested in giving speaking to me. Thank you for watching this video. Before I wind up, thank you very much to Ayush and other students who agreed for a video recording, because this is a great learning experience on how people perform under exam stress. Uh, so for Ayush, I'm going to give him 6 bands, as he was able to talk about individual topics in detail. He can definitely score well. The only thing that he needs to do is try to focus on avoiding simple mistakes, which we saw with um, pronunciation mistakes are there, singular and plural mistakes are there, right? Some vocabulary mistakes are there. So, just simplify your responses in order to reduce such errors. Okay. Preposition mistakes are some of the worst mistakes that students can make. So just make sure, if you do make a preposition mistake, which Ayush did do. If you do make a preposition mistake, right? Like, just do few activities on preposition to make sure that you don't repeat it in the future. All right. Well, that's all for now. Best of luck for those who are going to appear for the exam. And thank you for watching this video from Malhar sir and the team. Thank you very much. Take care.